Welcome to episode 44 of the Just Happy to Be Here podcast. It's me, Tanner, and as always, you know it, I am just happy to be here. Thank you for listening to our podcast. Taylor and I, we both know that when it comes to podcasts, you have endless options to choose from. The internet is full of podcasts. So thanks for stopping by and listening. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts, make sure that you give us a review. We would never be mad or hurt or offended if you left us a 5-star review. However, anything less than that and our feelings will be hurt for the rest of our lives and forever and ever. Hey, on today's episode, Taylor and I, we talk about a few very important things, like St. Patrick's Day, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and at the very end of the episode, we talk about what songs get stuck in our heads. And they are songs that we do not want to have stuck in our heads, at least in my case. Anyways, here is episode 44 of the Just Happy to Be Here podcast.
And we're going.
We are going. I always have, when we start doing this, I often wonder, okay, at what point are we actually going to start the podcast?
Right.
Is it going to be right as we count down from 3, 2, 1, go? Or are we going to start the podcast when we feel like it's probably a good place to start?
Yeah. That's one of the many questions you end up mulling over on this here professional podcast.
Because we are a professional podcast.
We are.
Well, I guess this is the start of the podcast.
This.
I guess I'm not.
We can call it.
I'm not cutting this out. This is quality content.
That's podcast gold right there. That's some quality PG. I
wonder. Podcasting. I mean, we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
But podcasting is such a strange thing.
Uh-huh.
I do think. I was talking with a friend of the day. Remember when we were in like middle school?
Oh yeah. Ooh,
and,
wish I didn't sometimes, but yes.
Wish I did. But so many of the jobs that are available today did not exist when we were in middle school.
Yeah, that's true.
Had I known that podcasting was a thing, I think that I might have like tried my hand at it. And I mean, we're trying our hands and our mouths at it right now. But I think I would have been like, this is a career path I would like to go down in the future.
Yeah.
Rather than just me and my friends have microphones, so we're going to just talk about the things that we want to talk about together, which is still a podcast.
Yeah, it is still a podcast. Yeah, some would say a much more official podcast than other podcasts.
But I would say our podcast is quite official.
I would say that. I am saying that.
It has all the proper makings. We have a picture.
Yep, got it.
People talking.
That's you and me.
And a name. So we're good to go. Taylor, this is exciting. It is March 18th, 2021.
Yes.
We're recording this before noon.
Unbelievable.
You're on spring break this week.
Yes.
And you're down on the beaches of Florida. You're not, I'm kidding.
No, I'm definitely still in the fields of Iowa.
Which is, very different from Florida. Or any place fun. Sorry, Iowa.
Hey, there are at least 3 fun places, all right? I want you to get your facts straight.
3 fun places.
At least.
Did you ever do anything out of the ordinary for a spring break?
There was one time when my family, when I was in 7th grade, we were living in Tennessee, and my parents surprised my sister and I with a Disney World trip over spring break.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like a perfect age to go, too.
Oh, it was great, man. It was my birthday that week, too, the week of spring break, so I turned 13 at Disney World.
You became a teenager in the most magical place on earth?
You better believe it.
That... Chapter 1 of the Taylor Jarman story. This is where it all begins. That's awesome. I don't remember doing anything like too crazy for spring break. I think we took a couple of like family trips, but in college we would go on like mission trips.
Yeah.
So there was one spring break, and this will tell you just how wild I am as a human being. we went down from Wisconsin to Mexico to do some service projects, build houses, things like that, and we were staying at a church in like a downtownish area, not a great part of the city that we were staying in.
Yeah.
but they ran out of space inside of the church. Like, our group was too big.
Oh, man.
So me and four other guys, I think four other guys, were asked if we could sleep in a van.
Whoa.
So for a week, we slept in like a big, 15 passenger van inside of this like gated church while random noises happened right outside of the car. And it was gross. It was hot. It was sweaty. And, then you would your friends would be like, yeah, we're at a beach, or we're skiing, or and we're like, I'm sleeping in a different country in a van. Now, luckily I didn't have like the driver's seat. Like, I wasn't sleeping in the driver's seat, but my, it was like sleeping on an ottoman. My legs were hanging off.
Geez.
My back was sore.
Yep.
It was quite perfect. Anyways, you're on spring break.
Yes.
It's March 18th. There are two national things that we need to take a look at today. Now, there was like 7 or 8 things on the list, but I only want to look at 2.
Definitely.
The first one is National Sloppy Joe Day. The old Untidy Joseph.
Untidy Joseph. Are you a Sloppy Joe guy?
No.
That was a weighty no.
But also, it's fine.
Yeah. Yep.
If someone says we're having Sloppy Joes, I know that also means we're probably going to have potato chips.
Yeah. Right. That's true.
And at least that's how it connects. Like, if you're going to have a lot of salt, you're going to have even more salt.
Every time.
It's the American way.
Mm-hmm.
It's the American way. Like, if you're just like, do you want something salty? Be like, yeah, might as well double it. And I don't get excited when somebody says we're having Sloppy Joes, but then I eat it and I'm like, oh, this is fine. This wasn't like, I don't know why I wasn't excited about this in the first place. It often depends on what bun is this being served on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel that.
And are we eating outside?
Right. Yeah.
And I think it's hard to eat a Sloppy Joe inside. You can do it. It happens. It happens probably more often than it does eating it outside.
Yeah.
However, I would prefer to eat my Sloppy Joe outside because I know I'm going to get messy and I'm going to have to be hosed down.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
Are you a Sloppy Joe guy?
I mean, I like a Sloppy Joe. Here's what I don't like about a Sloppy Joe is when, and it seems to be kind of solely Midwesterners, in my experience, that do this, but Midwesterners will call Sloppy Joes barbecue, which is not right. Which is not even close to right.
It's sinful. It is sinful.
It is borderline sinful. And I get offended more and more every time I hear that somebody's like, well, because here's the thing. Because if somebody says barbecue, we're going to have barbecue, I imagine you would too have some very, very different images in your head than a Sloppy Joe sandwich. I'm thinking brisket. I'm thinking ribs. I'm thinking at the very least, I'm coming out with a delicious like sliced brisket sandwich. You know what I mean? And then when somebody plops a Sloppy Joe and Untidy Joseph in front of my face instead of those beautiful images of barbecue, I get pretty upset.
Get this out of here.
Because it's not. You don't barbecue Sloppy Joes.
And that's the same thing when people say, hey, you want to come over for barbecue, and they give you hamburgers and hot dogs. No. That is a cookout.
Right.
You are having a cookout.
Yep.
You are hosting a cookout,
Yeah.
of which I'm very thankful for.
Absolutely.
Am
Thank
I
you
a
for the
grill
free
master? Food. Definitely not. I'm not awful at it. It makes me nervous. I don't know how to count. People just like, just look at it. Like, I'm looking at it, and it doesn't look done.
Yeah.
They're like, well, it's been done for 2 minutes. If you invite me over for a barbecue, I'm asking questions like, oh, you're making brisket? And then if they go on to say, oh, we're having hamburgers and hot dogs, that's fine. And brats, like that,
Right.
You're in the Midwest. You have to have brats. Like, I think, when instead of celebrating with cigars when a child's born, you have brats.
Right.
That's just a Midwestern culture.
Right.
You can't fight it. But I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
If somebody says, we're having a barbecue, and you serve me a Sloppy Joe,
No.
I can't trust you with anything.
No.
You are deemed untrustworthy in the sight of man and in the sight of God. And that's just, and Taylor,
Yeah.
that's just a fact.
That is. Yeah.
You can't, and as we'll learn later on in this podcast, You can't fight facts.
That's...
You also can't fight feelings. Also, another part of today that we must celebrate.
Absolutely.
It's today's National Awkward Moments Day.
Oof. Oof.
And there's only one question that you can be asked after we talk about this.
Yeah.
So Taylor, what is it for you, man? What's an awkward moment?
Yeah, awkward moment. I still think about this sometimes. This was in high school. But I was my sophomore year, and you remember as a sophomore how you like, if anybody looks at you the wrong way, you've not really settled into yourself as like a high schooler yet, especially as a guy.
Right.
You just got this incredibly like fragile ego, and
I think like sophomore year, like you could describe it with the word tension.
Yeah. Oh,
there's
that's
just
so good.
there's just this weird everything.
Yep. That's exactly right.
Yes.
And
I know it well.
Oh man, you're just sitting on a powder keg of, if somebody looks at me the wrong way, my body might just like cringe into itself. You know what I mean? And
yep, either that or I'm gonna explode.
Yeah, actually explode.
I'm either exploding or imploding, but there's some sort of ploding happening.
Exactly right. And so, perfect setup for this rainy September day, where I was the lone girls tennis manager because the guy who said he would do it with me totally bailed on me. Shout out to Jordan Curtis if he's a listener of the podcast. But got left. I'm the sole manager. Not a great position to be in as that fragile sophomore that we were just talking about. And I didn't realize that there is a day for a practice day for the girls that if it's rainy, the managers also participate in the practice. I don't normally participate in the practice other than like, helping out with drills and stuff. That's about the extent of my involvement. And so I arrive because I was just told wear clothes you don't really care about. So I slam down some Cheerios right before I leave, and I wear a hoodie and jeans. And then I was very much a part of the practice. I was running all over the place, didn't think that was going to happen. We're getting ready to go into the second drill of the day, which I would also be very active in, and I start to see colors and get very lightheaded. And I know this is not a great place to be, and so I'm like, I got to go sit down. I sit down immediately, and then I realize I am going to puke right now. Like, it's happening. I start to stand up off the bench to try to get to the grass, but it's happening. Like, it's going to happen now. And there's nothing I can do about it. I have one last thought that goes through my head before release, and it's, you should try to catch it. Now, Tanner, I don't know why I thought that, but I did. That was the last thought that went through my mind. I extend my right hand out in front of my face and go right into my hand, and then it goes into the ground, and all I hear over from the right is 20 high school girls going, oh, gosh, and just so many noises of disgust. But I don't have time to worry about that. I've got to retch 4 more times in the grass. And so then after that, I'm like sitting there for a second. I know I have to make this turn. And I turned around, and just everybody is just laser focused on me. And yeah, and I had to live that down, and we took a picture after that, team picture after that I was in. So
perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
So pale.
This is
so pale.
This is the right time for me to have my photo taken. You're right, everybody. This is great.
This is the time. But Tanner, it's National Awkward Moments Day. What's yours?
Mine also happens when I was a sophomore, but a sophomore in college.
Oh, okay.
Or I believe I was going into college.
Gotcha.
Or something like that.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Either it's between freshman and sophomore year or between sophomore and junior year.
Yeah.
Either way, it was close.
Yeah.
I'm working up at a camp in northern Wisconsin, and towards the end of the summer, our groups started getting smaller and smaller, and so there was a little bit more free time for us.
Yeah.
And one afternoon, we always had an hour off in the afternoons. We went boating on the lake that was right there. And we decided to go tubing. And
nice.
Our friend had a boat, and so we change as fast as we can, run out, start tubing. And we had been doing this for the last couple of days. And growing up, I never went tubing in Florida for obvious reasons.
Yeah, right.
gators who have gotten into cocaine. So I don't go tubing in Florida. So I'm brand, and this is so much fun. I'm having a blast.
Yeah.
It's like me, and like we would ride like double tubes in the back, and we would jump from one tube to the other tube, like doing things that you would see in the movies, and you were like, I'm amazing. Well, we were going, and so it was about 4 guys and about 5 or 6 girls, and me and the guys were on the back in the tubes, and all the girls were in the boat.
Yeah.
And it was at that point in the summer when you'd been working together all summer long. You've gotten to know each other.
Yep.
Feelings were happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so as I'm on the tube, I'm holding on, and there were girls in the boat.
Yep.
And someone's recording this, by the way, with a video
always.
camera. I'm holding on, and then something happens. We hit a wave, and our tube gets flipped upside down.
Oh, man.
But I'm still holding on, and I'm like halfway underwater and under it, and we're trying to figure out how can we flip this thing back over. I don't know if it's possible. I think it's possible. But as we're going, I'm like, man, we are really going, and I am being dragged.
Geez.
Everything but my face is underwater.
Oh, gosh.
And we finally flip it over, and I felt so free.
Oh.
I felt so free because I no longer had pants on. They had been ripped right off my body. I let go as soon as I looked back, because when I looked back, it was quite bright. I looked back, it's quite bright. I'd fall off, and I'm just floating naked in the middle of the lake.
Yep.
Everyone had seen everything.
Everything.
And so then they pull up, and I can't find my pants because they're somewhere in the lake.
Yep.
And someone's like, well, I have shorts, like a girl was wearing cheerleader shorts. And I was like,
geez.
Great, that'd be fine. But they were so small that I couldn't even get out of the water. And it was just bad. And I usually don't get embarrassed by things. Usually it's kind of like brush them off. But this was like, I felt violated.
Oh, man. Yep.
I felt very seen. Yeah. And I felt in that moment, one day I'm going to share the story on a podcast. And that day was today. And
that day
so
is
that
today.
that was one of the most awkward moments for me.
Dang. Wow.
But speaking of a moment that wasn't quite awkward, and this is a bit of news. This is showing you how culturally relevant,
this is,
or maybe not culturally, just
news.
relevant. Earlier this week, some Dead Sea Scrolls had been found.
Yeah.
Israeli archaeologists discovered a trove of artifacts in a cave in Israel that includes new fragments of the renowned Dead Sea Scrolls. And they also found coins. They found a basket, and then a mummified body of a young girl.
Man.
Which is wild.
Yeah.
This is wild. Wild stuff. And apparently this is the first discovery of this kind that has been made in that area in 60 years. So this is huge. And I know that you came across this online as well.
Yeah. Oh man, it's such a cool discovery. And I won't dive too deep into this because we could make this a 3-hour conversation in and of itself. But what's so cool is that this is a big discovery, and this is, by the way, it's these new finds are first portions of Bible fragments that have been discovered by archaeologists in close to 60 years, by the way, which is a big deal. But as they find these things, and as they've dug in, and they've found Greek and let's see, I think it's Greek texts of both Zechariah and Nahum in this finding, and it's like every time that we find stuff like this, there's a big find. We compare it to earlier, and they compared it to originals and even earlier fragments, and even though there's a span of years apart between these texts, how much they match and how God continues to preserve His Word is just amazingly incredible. Just it's so consistent. We can't you can't pick apart a weak point in the theology because there's this big difference between the two, and it's amazing with the New Testament. Even I actually taught on this recently to our youth group up here. But the New Testament between all the fragments and like full manuscripts that we have that were like some of which are just decades after they were written. We've got, for the biblical texts, the most accurate and just the most fragments of any ancient text in the world. And so like number 2 and number 3 are texts from Plato and Homer, and we have over, I think, 4,000 more manuscripts and pieces of manuscripts than either one of those. The accuracy between the two is crazy, or the accuracy compared across the thousands of manuscripts that we have is above and beyond those. There's also fewer years. There's far fewer year gap in between the actual writing and like the manuscripts and the fragments that we have. There's like 1,200 years for Homer and like several hundred years for Plato, and that's number 2 and 3, and that stuff gets kind of accepted in the world as just perfectly accurate, and God has given us this crazy way to be even more sure of the accuracy of His Word and the reliability of it. Anyway, I'll stop nerding out, but you get the point.
Yeah, seriously, calm down there. It is amazing though, and I was thinking about this. You have to be just so patient to be an archaeologist.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like.
Yep.
To be somebody who just like every day I'm going to go look, seek, and hopefully find. And it's got to be a slow process. And I'm sure they find things that aren't even like, oh, I found, some kind of shard of something that we don't even know what it's from. Right. But this is huge. Kind of like you were saying. And as you were talking, I was thinking, right now, our world has just so much information, right?
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
And we are sifting through the information that we do have, seeking to find the truth. And there are people who are sifting through dirt, caves, sand, looking for the truth as well.
Yeah.
And it's cool that we have it, and that it's been made known to us. And then it's moments like this, at least for us as believers, where we see something new and it kind of adds another layer to what we already believe.
Yeah.
Almost as if like, yeah, see, it is real.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that makes me smile. I'm super excited about this, and I hope that it just kind of leads to more findings.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure a lot of people, when they saw this, they started Googling, what are the Dead Sea Scrolls?
Right.
What else does it mean? And hopefully they kind of stumbled upon truth. And you and we also have done some Googling this week.
We sure have.
Now that is what we call that's a professional transition.
That's a PT. I would say. PT right there.
That's pure PT. Taylor, moving on from the Dead Sea Scrolls, although we may never actually move on from the Dead Sea Scrolls, what did you recently Google?
So, Tanner, as you know, yesterday for us, and not yesterday for anyone who's listening to this, was St. Patrick's Day 2021, March 17th.
Great day.
Great day. So I knew a little bit about St. Patrick, but I wanted to just be refreshed in what I did know and learn a little bit more. And so I Googled St. Patrick, Tanner, on St. Patrick's Day. I thought, St. Patrick's Day, excuse me. I thought that was a fitting Google. And I Googled St. Patrick. Fun fact, turns out he's not Catholic, nor has he even been canonized as a saint by the Catholic Church. We just call him St. Patrick, which is pretty wild.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Very interesting. But then also I was reminded of just how godly a man that St. Patrick was, and he was a big-time church planter in the 4th century in the Scotland, Ireland area specifically. Obviously, the association ended up with Ireland. But I just found a really great quote from St. Patrick yesterday. He also, by the way, has a Gaelic name that I'm not even going to begin to try to pronounce. That's his real name is crazy. But I'm just going to call him St. Patrick. The rest of the world does, so I don't feel bad about it.
Yeah, I understand.
But this quote I found, which you liked, by the way.
I liked it.
Liked it because I posted it. But he said, I pray to God to give me perseverance and to deign that I be a faithful witness to him to the end of my life for my God. Which I think is just, what a great prayer for all of us. Just that I would be faithful, that I would be persevering, and I would be a faithful witness of the truth of who God is and the truth of his word and the truth of who he's called us to. What a cool prayer for us. So anyway, yeah, Googled St. Patrick. Tanner, what did you Google?
Well, before that, do you know why we celebrate St. Patrick's Day on the day that we celebrate St. Patrick's Day?
That I actually don't know.
It was when he first saw leprechauns. So what I Googled was...
I see.
That was terrible.
When he first had Lucky Charms?
It was the very... Yeah. Yes, I was going to tell a story about Lucky Charms, but you don't have time for that, and nobody wants to hear it. I Googled, and I think I've Googled this before. Yeah. In fact, I know that I have, and I'm wondering if we've talked about it on the podcast. In fact, I believe that we have. But I was talking to somebody about, like, geography, and she was saying, I only know where, like, 4 states are. And then I wanted to go on and tell her how, the map that we look at isn't the actual correct map. Like, everything looks different. And so this was back when I was binging and watching The West Wing.
Oh yeah, I remember
there was
that.
There was an episode of The West Wing where they talked about a map called the Athograph or Athograph.
Okay.
I can't say things correctly. It's probably pronounced differently than that, but you can Google it.
I got it.
I Googled correct map of the world. And when you look at our map, everything kind of looks like, it's just kind of like right there in front of us. But it feels like most things, at least when we look at North America, it's tilted northwest, right?
Okay.
So just a little bit different, I believe. I don't know how things work in my mind, but that's what it looks like. So, and it makes more sense then, especially from while living in Florida, when I was like, how are these hurricanes sneaking up in through here? Well, that's because everything's turned a little bit on a real map. So anyways, it's a terrible thing to Google for a podcast. If there'd be one thing if this was like a video and I could actually show you what the correct map looks like.
Right.
But it blew my mind because I was watching this episode, months ago, and I think about it quite often.
Yeah.
But I don't call it the Athograph. I think in my mind I call it the correct map from the West Wing, which is, a different kind of name for it. But it's weird that
it's
that
personal.
is, we kind of were talking a little bit about like what's real, what's not, like the truth that's in front of us and that's not in front of us. Like the map has just kind of been placed in front of our hands. Now, the map that we use, it's not like, if I'm standing in Georgia, I know that I just need to go this way and I'll be in South Carolina. It's like, well, by looking at a map, that doesn't really matter. You need a smaller, map rather than like this big globe.
Yeah.
But then, to pull back and to look at it as a whole, that's what the world looks like. It's fascinating. It's wild.
That's crazy. I got to look at this.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think because the world is actually flat. Anyways, Taylor.
Moving right along from
one more thing before we go.
Yeah.
Not only do I need to wish you a happy St. Patrick's Day, Did you wear green, by the way?
I didn't. But what I claim is I've got Irish in my heritage, so
yeah,
I don't need to do that.
We have more Irish heritage than St. Patrick himself, apparently. So
nice. Yeah, I do. Yeah, we do.
We have a question of the week, something that we thought of right before we pressed record.
Yep.
What song often gets stuck in your head?
Yeah. We were talking about this, and I said that I might answer differently than I did when we were talking about it off air. And I actually have 3 that I thought of. Can I do that? Is that legal?
Yeah, we have plenty of time. Just happy to be here.
We make the rules, dang it. So I think I realized up top. It's a Tanner, were you a Reliant K fan?
I am.
Am currently? That's right. That's right. We went to a Relient K Switchfoot show. What am I even saying?
We did.
Oh man, what a time!
I guess that wasn't the best night of your life. Your diary. Once again, Taylor has confirmed that was not the best night of your life. He does not want me to be my escape. Anyways, go for it.
Man, nice. Well done.
What song gets stuck in your head?
So this is a weird one for Relient K fans, but actually one that I find myself just singing accidentally is one off of their album called Collapsible Lung, which is probably their least popular album. And it's a song called Lost Boy. But that thing, dang it, if that's not such a catchy song, it does. It gets stuck in my head. Then
you said you had two more.
Yeah. So then
you said three.
The other one is Trouble by Cage the Elephant. Trouble on my left, trouble on my right.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about how catchy the 80s were. Aha's Take on Me always just buries itself in my head.
Oh, that's fantastic. For me, unfortunately, it is Girls Just Want to Have Fun
by
Cyndi Lauper.
Oh, yeah.
And
Cyndi.
I just do not know why. But every day, I am just cheering for the girls to have fun.
Yeah.
And it's also that, and then it's I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys. So I wish there was like a, not to say that those aren't good songs, but I want a good song stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Or even like, if it could even just be like something from Beethoven. Something relaxing.
Yeah.
Right, but I'm over here like trying to pump myself up for a girls' night out, and that's never going to happen. So it's terrible.
There's a lot of wanting in your songs, Tanner. Just want to have fun. I want it that way. It sounds like it got a lot of want.
Take me to therapy, Taylor. Take me to therapy. What's your hourly rate? Because I can't afford it.
Pretty much.
Hey, man.
What Valentine's Day candy did we talk about? Anyway.
I might want a lot of things, but I know for a fact that I am just happy to be here.
Absolutely. So, and I am too. Just happy to be here.
Hey, man, it was good talking to you. I look forward to our future conversations. For all those who are listening, make sure that you subscribe to the podcast. If you want, share it with a friend. Share it with 2 friends.
Oh, man.
Don't get too carried away, but share it with maybe 3. And then if you have a question for us, or if you want to share with us what you've recently Googled, send us an email or a message to writtentospeak@gmail.com, or you can message us on any of our social media platforms.
Yeah.
I believe they're linked in the show notes. If not, you can visit writtentospeak.com for more information. And that will do it for the podcast. If you wait about 10 more seconds, I'll probably do an outro. So
nice.
There's that. Okay.
I'm sticking around.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you later, man.
Yeah, talk to you later, man.
Well, here is the outro to the podcast that we just finished recording. I don't know if this podcast needs an outro, but I've gotten used to doing it, and so here is another one. But today, I just want to take this time to say thank you. Thank you for listening to the Just Happy to Be Here podcast. Thank you for following us on social media and for listening to Taylor's music and for listening to my poetry and reading my books. It truly does mean the world to us. We are thankful for your support and for your kindness. If you would like to continue to support the ministry and mission of Written to Speak, you can visit patreon.com/writtentospeak, or you can visit the Patreon tab at writtentospeak.com. Over the next several months, I'll be sharing the writing process of my 3rd book on Patreon. So if you're interested in one day maybe writing your own book or want to see how the process goes for me, I would love to share that with you. You can sign up at patreon.com/writtentospeak. Like I said, for as little as $1 a month, or for as many as $1 million a month, but nothing more than $1 million, please. I just wouldn't know what to do with that. Anyways, thank you again. We look forward to sharing future episodes of the Just Happy to Be Here podcast with you. I look forward to talking with you all soon, and hopefully one of these days we'll be able to record a podcast face-to-face. All right, until next time, we'll see you.